It's Monday morning. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Right now it is 5:37 a.m. an early start to your day today. A good morning to you. We're going to get out on the road, show you how traffic is doing on this Monday morning. But first, a little recap here on what we're chatting about today. A weekend storm recap. The winds were intense yesterday. The rain came down in torrential buckets. Today we're windy and we're much cooler on the other side of that cold front, and then that ridge that is going to return over Ontario as we look ahead at this week. Want to start off by showing you some video. Some of the storm and some of the strongest winds came with that as well. And as we look at these winds here at Pearson, we did see a wind gust over 100 kilometers an hour. 102, 104 down in London. Ottawa got up to 96. Multiple reports of power outages, down trees, and we're going to show you some of that video throughout the morning show this morning. So what are we seeing today and what are we seeing this week? I'm glad you're here because we're going to get into that right now. Look how we see a little bit of rain here just on the south tip of Georgian Bay. I know it's tough to see. Let's zoom in here and you can see that we are looking at just a little bit of lake effect rain. That is that northwesterly wind setting up, and that is creating some rainfall basically for places like Collingwood over towards Alliston. Looks like Angus getting into a little bit of that rain as well. If it was cold enough, of course, that could be some lake effect snow. And I don't think we're too far away from seeing some of that. This afternoon, 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 in Barrie. You can see much cooler conditions for us today. Essentially, that cold front came throughout the overnight, and it really brought down some of our temperatures. So we are feeling the chill today. That is for sure. Don't expect to be warming up as we go into the afternoon. But as we do look ahead at tomorrow, a southwesterly flow develops, and already we'll be seeing some warmer conditions by Tuesday afternoon. So Tuesday morning, definitely a sweater for the morning hours. 4, that's it in Mississauga and Markham. But into the afternoon, what a gorgeous temperature here. 17 in Toronto, 15 in Barrie. We are looking at another week of above seasonal conditions. Wednesday here, 19 degrees with sunshine in Toronto. Thursday, yet again, even Barrie and Peterborough, 17 and 18 degrees. And then Friday, we have got some great conditions for you. The 20s are back. All right, let me take you out onto the roads before we leave you here. Well, you're one of the lucky ones that has power this morning. We saw about 65,000 people last night across southern Ontario without power. Toronto Hydro reporting this morning that they still have 650 people to put back online. And it was all courtesy of the cold front. You can see it's fizzling out here, but that cold front now across Atlantic Canada. Some lake effect rain starting to set up. We'll take a closer look at that right here, and you can see the south tip of Georgian Bay. Those showers are coming down. Looks like we could even see some light rain this morning in places like Caledon, Northern Brampton, Orangeville, looking at some of those showers, and that's all courtesy of lake effect. And of course, if that was colder, well, that would be some lake effect snow. Thankfully, it's just rain today. We're 11 degrees into this afternoon, 8 in Barrie, 8 in Peterborough. We do have quite a nice day on tap today because we are seeing those dry conditions. The winds are cooling down as well. Those winds were just incredible yesterday. We saw peak wind gusts in Toronto, 100 kilometers an hour. Today, we're 11. Tomorrow, we're already 17 degrees. We'll talk about the international story, Hurricane Ophelia, in a second. This is an interesting one for Ireland. But first, let's do a little recap on our weather here. And you can see that rain coming down hard and heavy. Now, as we take a look at this story, this is an interesting one. This is our 6th major hurricane of this season. The 6th major hurricane. This is no longer a hurricane now, a post-tropical cyclone, and this is set to hit Ireland. And the interesting part about this story is on this date, 30 years ago, we had the last major storm hit Ireland. Now, Ophelia moving in. And we are looking at the entire island of Ireland here in a red warning, and that is their highest level of a weather warning. Schools are being shut down. People are being told to stay indoors. These winds will be gusting at Category 1 hurricane strength. Lots of rainfall moving in. The storm surge is expected to be wild along the coast. So this is a major weather event for Ireland. And then into the UK as well. We're going to look at the remnants of this storm affecting many places too. So this is a story that we're going to be following this week at the Weather Network. This is like a 1 in a 20-year storm. We don't see this too often, especially the way that Hurricane Ophelia made its track, the most easterly track we have seen in the Atlantic. The winds will be a big story with this, likely that they will be seeing damaging winds as we look at this post-tropical storm. One time, Hurricane Ophelia making its way across Ireland and the UK as as we start off this week. All right, let me take a look at our roads this morning. This here is a live look at the QEW. And yesterday, the runners had to take on the winds at the Niagara Marathon. You know, it was overall a beautiful day. I was there with my cousin and one of my best friends, Jacqueline. There we are. We were running the 10K, and the winds were a little strong, I have to admit, but at least the rain held off. Those powerful storms held off as well. Run like the wind, of course, some appropriate signage for yesterday. Of course, congratulations to all the runners. And hey, if you are thinking of running a marathon, that race is a super cool one because the full actually starts in New York and then you cross the border and make your way all the way up and you finish right at the brink of the falls. But hey, those winds yesterday, something you cannot control when it comes to running a marathon. 102 kilometers an hour in Toronto, 104 down in London. They were impressive. And now on the other side of that cold front, well, we are a lot cooler. Temperatures below seasonal today. We were into the 20s over the weekend. That is no longer the case. We feel the cool air, but look, as we go into tomorrow, already a southwesterly wind setting back up. So we're cool below seasonal today. The potential here for a little bit of lake effect rain will follow the next loop here. You can see this is our future radar just on that south tip of Georgian Bay. See how that sets up for places like Angus and Collingwood. We're looking at some of those light showers, even North Brampton up to Caledon. If this was a lot cooler, by the way, in our atmosphere, that would be some lake effect snow. And it looks like that may not be too far away from us. We'll explain coming up in a second here. This afternoon, 11 degrees in Toronto, and then as we go into tomorrow, already back up to 17. So where are temperatures going from here? Your Long Ranger starts now. All right, your Wednesday looks gorgeous. We see this ridge developing across Ontario. Temperatures are warm, conditions are dry. 19 degrees in Toronto, 20 as we get into Thursday. We really have a beautiful week ahead to enjoy some of these fall conditions. Hopefully you still have some leaves on your trees after the windstorm we saw this weekend. And then Friday here, 19 in Toronto, 20 in Hamilton, 18 in Niagara Falls. This is a gorgeous week. And of course, speaking of marathons, we got the big marathon happening in Toronto this weekend, and that forecast looks to be dry. On Saturday, we're 21 for the daytime high. That marathon happening on Sunday. Now enjoy this warm up because it looks like this could be our last hurrah. Yeah, this is the pattern that is coming into play. Cooler air as we end off October, below seasonal as we go into the first week of November. And it looks like if we do see that northwesterly setup, of course, that could be leading to some lake effect snow. That's something that we are going to watch in our long range forecast. When we come back, it's been an incredible story for... It is 6:06 a.m. and you're watching the Weather Network. It's great to have you along with us on this Monday, October the 16th today. And what are we chatting about on the Weather Network today? Well, of course, those storms from yesterday. We got your recap coming up. Windy and cool today, and then also that ridge returns over Ontario, and we'll tell you what that means for us here in the lower Great Lakes. All right, as we focus in on yesterday, some of those peak winds, 102 kilometers an hour at Pearson. 102 kilometers an hour, that is a strong wind gust. Let's take a look at some of the scenes that we saw, and that was the scene yesterday in Waterloo. This afternoon, 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 in Barrie, 9 in Newmarket. Where have the 20s gone, right? This is what happens. The cold front came through yesterday, really brought the temperatures down. Now in behind it, we have a below seasonal air mass. So we're dealing with the cooler conditions, watching for frost, especially into tomorrow morning. But tomorrow afternoon, already noticing the southwesterly flow here. See all these little lines that are moving in? They're coming in out of the southwest. That is indicating that we are going to be seeing that warmer wind as we look ahead into Tuesday. Tuesday morning is still cool. You still need a jacket for sure. Only 3. That's it in Burlington. As we go into Tuesday afternoon, 17 in Toronto and Mississauga, 16 in Newmarket. So we got a great day on tap for tomorrow. But does this weather stick with us throughout this week? And the answer to that is yes. As we look at the long range model here, there's really not a whole lot going on. We don't see any new systems coming in. Temperatures staying above seasonal. We're going to be into the 20s as we look at this week. Overall, the ridge and the jet stream essentially protecting us here, keeping us dry, that southwesterly flow, keeping us warm. All the way up into Kapuskasing and Timmins, Thunder Bay. 20 as we look at Wednesday. 19 degrees in Toronto, 22 in Windsor. Kingston gets up to 17 for October. What more can we ask for? This is some really nice weather. Thursday here, we are 20 degrees in Toronto. All right, let's take a look at our roads this morning before we get you to your local forecast. Monday morning, October the 16th. Hopefully your day is starting off on a good note. You're here with us at the Weather Network, so of course that makes me happy. It's great to see you. Right now, 6:17 a.m., and we saw some incredible images yesterday. Love this time lapse. It was tweeted to the Weather Network by Michael here, and you can see that storm rolling in and overtaking the camera. Time-lapse videos are so cool when we talk thunderstorms. Let's have a look at some of these ones as well. We're without power across southern Ontario, Newmarket and Peterborough being hit the hardest. So that front now, it's well off to the east of us, affecting Atlantic Canada today. Not as intense as what we saw, but now what we're looking at is the cooler air in behind it, the northwesterly wind. And look at this here on the south end of Georgian Bay. We're talking a little bit of lake effect rain. So don't be caught off guard. Actually, looks like here this stretch of the 400 in between Vaughan up towards, let's say, about Davis Drive, looks like we are seeing the potential for some showers there being picked up on the radar this morning. All right, this afternoon we're 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 in Barrie, 7 in Huntsville. It's a cool day today. Where have the 20s gone, right? This is what happens on the other side of a cold front, living up to its name, cooling down the conditions, bringing in that northwesterly wind. Into tomorrow, though, you can see we're much warmer. The winds have flipped around here. 17 degrees in Toronto, 15 in Barrie, and we are looking at a dry week ahead. There is nothing really on our radar that we're watching in terms of big systems coming into southern Ontario. Ridge develops in the jet stream. We'll be staying nice and dry through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Even that rain today with the lake effect just on the south tip of Georgian Bay that I was just showing you, that's really just a morning story. And remember, very isolated. Doesn't look like that should make its way into Toronto. A little bit of cloud cover, then a few peaks of sunshine. Wednesday, we're 19 degrees. As we get you into Thursday here, 20 in Toronto. But there are many signs that we will start to see that cool down. This should be our last hurrah when we talk warm conditions. We'll be warm in through the weekend, and then a cooler shot of air likely to come in as we end off October into the first week of November. We could be looking at below seasonal conditions. All right, time now to talk traffic here. Very good morning to you. It is Monday, October the 16th today. Rachel Schoutsen and Michelle Mackey. Michelle, you're back with us. We missed you.
I'm back. You know, I spent a week in Florida. I was doing some work working on something very special that you'll be able to see in a couple of weeks. But I have to say, I missed you a lot. Aww. Not necessarily the 3 a.m. wake up, but the crew and all of our viewers.
Of course. Now, how was the wake up this morning? Okay?
It was okay.
Back
I was well rested, so I'm back at it.
Good job. And it makes it easier for some of these trees to topple over. So if you thought it was windy yesterday, it absolutely was. And here's some of the numbers to prove it. Okay. We're going to be seeing that cold front essentially east of Quebec now off into Atlantic Canada, but still sustained here. We could see 30 kilometers an hour, gusts close to 40 and 50. So it's still going to be breezy and still out of the northwest.
Nathan Coleman, the sun is shining, but temperatures today nice and mild. That changes big time tomorrow. Okay, thanks, Nathan. Oh, I love Halifax so much. It brings me back. I was there in the summer and seeing that boardwalk. I just want to go back.
A beautiful place to be, even on a windy day.
Oh, yeah. South of the Trans-Labrador Highway, 10 to 20 centimeters of snow. It'll be blowing as well. But the winds here, surprisingly not as powerful as what we experienced in southern Ontario. Temperatures are going to be on the rise for Ontario and Quebec, but they fall in Atlantic Canada. October 25th, that is when Season 3 of Storm Hunters premieres. Here's a sneak peek, then your local forecast.
It's 6:37 a.m. and you're watching the Weather Network. Happy Monday to you, October the 16th today. A couple things we're discussing on the Weather Network this morning. Of course, what happened yesterday? The storms, the wind, it was incredible. Last night, about 65,000 people without power at peak, and still many getting put back on the board this morning. Windy and cool today, and then that ridge returns over Ontario, and we'll tell you what that means for our forecast just ahead. First up, though, time lapse of the storm. They are just incredible, and we love it so much when you send them to us here at the Weather Network. Have a look at this. What an afternoon. If you thought it was windy yesterday, well, you were right. Look at this. Pearson, 102 kilometers an hour. That was the peak wind gust. Ottawa got up to 96. London at 104. We saw a very windy day yesterday. Hamilton about 82. That was your peak wind gust. And of course, with the saturated ground after the rain, we've seen over the past week or so the strong wind gusts. You pair that up, you easily could knock down some trees, and that video is also coming up on the morning show this morning. You can see here that there's not a ton going on within the GTA, but a little bit of rain on the south end of Georgian Bay. Let's take a closer look here. The northwesterly wind, that's producing a little bit of lake effect rain. So for places like Alliston, across the 400, you can see the stretch of the 400 here, Vaughan, about up to Davis Drive. Some spotty showers here this morning. So do keep that in mind if you live north of the GTA. Collingwood has been looking at some rain. And remember, if temperatures were cooler, That would be lake effect snow. This afternoon, 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 in Barrie, 8 in Peterborough. It's a cool start to the day, cool into the afternoon. Don't expect temperatures to be warming up, but do expect them to warm up into tomorrow. Why is that? Well, that's because a southwesterly wind starts to develop, and we're going to see temperatures return into the mid to high teens, and they're going to stay there all week long this week. Tomorrow morning is cold. Grab a sweater. Only 3 in Burlington. That's it. And then into Tuesday. Look at that. This looks like, what, the beginning of September, mid-September maybe? 17 degrees in Toronto. We're talking 19 on Wednesday. We get you into Thursday. We're 20 degrees. Enjoy the warm-up this week. All right, let's take a look at our roads this morning. Monday morning, October the 16th, right now, 6:46 a.m., and it is great to have you along with us. We'll be taking a look at the road shortly. A dry start to the morning for some. The key for some here, because we do have this northwesterly wind setting up, and that is actually bringing in just a little bit of lake effect rain. Have a look at this. It's the northwesterly wind. I know it's a bit tough to see, so let's take a closer look here within the GTA. And just on that south tip of Georgian Bay, see this green that's coming down towards Collingwood through Alliston? That is some rain. And you know, if the atmosphere was cool enough, that would be some lake effect snow. And there are many signs that lake effect snow may not be too far away for southern Ontario. If you stay with us, your Long Ranger is coming up next, and we're going to dive into why and maybe when. This afternoon, we're 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 in Barrie, 7 in Huntsville. It's a cooler day today. We were into the 20s over the weekend. Now we're talking single-digit highs. It's the power of the cold front. Peak last night, about 65,000 people without power. Still many people needing to be put back on the grid this morning. So this afternoon, a cooler day, courtesy of that cold front. Now, as we look into tomorrow, temperatures already back on the rise. It's that southwesterly wind. It is back in action. It wants to come back into play here, and it is going to stay with us throughout this week. 17 degrees in Toronto tomorrow, and expect temperatures to look like that or into the 20s as we go throughout this week and into the weekend. And we're going to chat about that in your Long Ranger next. Right now, though, I do want to take a look at our roads this morning. This here is a live look at the Don Valley Parkway. So I want to talk about an international story here. Ophelia. This was the 6th major hurricane of this season. The record is 7 major hurricanes in 1 year, and that was set back in 2005. Right now, we're at 6. Ophelia is now a post-tropical cyclone, but it's a very interesting story here. It has a very interesting track, making its way to Ireland today. And Ireland does not usually see hurricanes. This is a 1 in a 20-year storm. There is a red warning right across the island. The UK will deal with this as well. Basically, people are told to stay indoors. Schools are being shut down, services shut down, because the weather will just be so intense today. This will have the strength, the wind strength of a Category 1 storm. So as we look at weather like this, and of course we talk flight and wind, the science behind that is coming up when we return. We've got your weekend storm recap coming up live here on the Weather Network this morning. It is 7:06 a.m. It was a windy day yesterday, just incredible. And some of those downpours, they were torrential as that cold front was coming in. Windy and cool today in behind the front, and then that ridge returns over Ontario. And we'll tell you what that means for some of our temperatures this week. First up, though, I need to show you the scenes. The stormy recap here on the Weather Network. Have a look at this. Not being able to sustain some of those winds. In Hamilton, we saw wind gusts about 82 kilometers an hour, but at Pearson, they got up to 102, 104 in London, 96 in Ottawa. It was a big story right across southern Ontario. We'll get you today's forecast in a second, but right now, I need to take you up to Bala. We're going to the Muskokas with Emily Vukovic this morning. And Emily, a windy day yesterday, so I'm hoping that we still have some of these leaves on the trees up there, because I'm sure it is stunning. 4 degrees. Emily, you keep warm up there. And you know, I have always wondered what happens behind the scenes in this cranberry harvest. So I am very interested in seeing your morning this morning. We'll look forward to it. This afternoon, it's cool. 11 degrees in Toronto, 9 in Newmarket, 8 in Barrie. That is it. Fresher temperatures on the other side of that cold front, certainly living up to its name. We're going to watch for some frost as we get you into Tuesday morning as well. But Tuesday into the afternoon, it's that southwesterly wind already wants to come back. These temperatures are amazing as we go throughout this week. Cold start to Tuesday morning, only 3 in Burlington, but then into the afternoon, we are 17 degrees in Toronto with a dry week in store. Before we go, just want to show you a look at traffic this morning. It's 7:16 on this Monday morning, October the 16th today, and it's great to have you along with us. Yesterday, that cold front came in and a time-lapse look at the storm. Michael tweeted this one to the Weather Network, and you can see it coming, and there it is, overtaking the camera. Such a cool look at a storm when you can see it in time-lapse. As we look at this morning, we are seeing that northwesterly wind still with us, sustained about 30 kilometers an hour, and that's developing some showers here, just to the south tip of Georgian Bay. As we take a closer look, that is some lake effect rain, essentially anywhere from Collingwood down to about Vaughan. We are seeing some showers this morning, so along the 400, don't be caught off guard if you do see some rain, especially the top end of Highway 10. All right, Emily, time now to turn things over to you this morning. And what's going on? Are you in the kitchen this morning? Up in Muskoka, we're joining you live. Oh boy, it'll be a cool one for you, Emily, but hey, I'm looking forward to this. This afternoon, we're only 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 in Barrie with a warm up this week. Before we go, just want to show you the 404 southbound, looking at a collision this morning. It's Monday morning. Great to have you along with us. And we've been looking at this northwesterly wind. Of course, that cold front came through yesterday, Michelle, brought some big storms across southern Ontario. Now that northwesterly wind has set up, it's going across Georgian Bay. We certainly are feeling the chill this morning, aren't we, Emily? Good morning.
You guys are so cute. And it looks delicious, doesn't it, ladies?
Breakfast juice.
Breakfast juice.
That's all I'm taking away from that. That is smart.
I like that
the
one
term,
a lot.
and it sounds innocent.
Now, you might not like this so much. Those wind gusts yesterday Now today in Atlantic Canada, potential for some gusty winds, but it's all about the warmth this morning, isn't it, Nathan?
You got it, Nate. They have been dealing with that snow up in Labrador. For Atlantic Canada today, we're going to watch for some of those spotty showers. This is the rainfall that's moving in, and those winds really picking up with a drop in temperatures tomorrow.
Yeah, it's all about the wind direction tomorrow. Northwesterly flow, cooling things down significantly. We're going to be talking about how the winds have played a role in the California wildfires. That's coming up this hour, but right now, a sneak peek, Season 3 of Storm Hunters.
It's 7:36, and you are watching the Weather Network on this Monday morning. We have a stormy recap for you. The winds came in strong yesterday. The rain came down in torrential buckets for many. We're recapping that cold front here on the Weather Network. We've got some incredible video. Also, windy and cool today. That is your forecast, and then that ridge returns over Ontario as we look ahead at this upcoming week. What does that mean for temperatures? Today will be our coolest day within the next 7. Yeah, they are back on the rise. Look at some of these winds here, 102 kilometers an hour. That was the peak gust at Pearson. As that cold front was coming in, it brought in the storms, and it also brought the temperature down by 6 degrees at Pearson in just 1 hour. Now we see that northwesterly flow in behind it, and as we take a closer look here, some of the radars are actually popping up with some blue, some snow along the 400 through Vaughan. Now, is this falling at the surface? Very tough to say at this point. It is not accumulating by any means, but aloft, we could be seeing some snowflakes with this. It's a cool start to the morning with that cool rain, Collingwood essentially down into Vaughan. Now, Emily, you've got an exciting morning for us here on the Weather Network. Cranberry season. I've always wondered how they did this, and you're going to give us that behind the scenes look.
4 degrees. I'm wearing a toque. Back to you.
4 degrees. Oh, that's going to be a cool start to the morning, Emily. But hey, we look forward to that. Always making good TV. This afternoon, we're 11 degrees in Toronto. That northwesterly wind is still with us, brings the temperatures down today. But that southwesterly wind, it wants to come back. And that means we're going to see rising temperatures as we go throughout this week. It's still a cold start to the morning tomorrow morning, but into the afternoon, 17 for that daytime high. Into Wednesday, 19. Thursday, 20. A dry week ahead with lots of sunshine and warm conditions. All right, before we go here, just want to show... It's 7:46, and you're watching the Weather Network Monday morning, October the 16th today. It's great to have you along with us. We're going to recap what happened yesterday. Some of those storms were incredible. That is all coming up. But what you need to know now is we're with that northwesterly wind right now. And with that northwesterly cooler wind, we are seeing some lake effect rain this morning. And that is being picked up essentially anywhere from about Collingwood down to Vaughan. I was looking at a couple radar returns, and it looks like north of Vaughan, some of them were actually showing some blue, meaning some snow. Not accumulating snow, not going to see it essentially falling, but aloft. We're thinking there's some snow with this. It's cooler enough with a bit of that elevation. So just a heads up that the cooler air, it really is coming in this morning. This afternoon, we're 11. That's it. 8 in Barrie, 7 in Huntsville. A cooler day today. And of course, it was all courtesy of the cold front that worked its way through yesterday. That was the peak last night without power across southern Ontario, and still many needing to be put back on the grid this morning. All right, Emily, time now to turn things over to you up in the Muskokas. And what a place to be in the fall. The colors are just stunning at this place. The breakfast juice, it sounds just so innocent, doesn't it? Before we get to your local forecast, I do want to talk about this. It's an incredible storm. One-time Hurricane Ophelia, now post-tropical. It is moving towards Ireland. Ireland gets hit with a storm like this 1 in every 20 years. The anniversary of the last time this happened, 30 years ago to the date. The island's shutting down today as they're preparing for this big storm. When we come back, we'll take a look at your long-range forecast. It's Monday, October the 16th today. I hope your day is off to a great start. Of course, I thank you for making the Weather Network a part of it. I'm Rachel Schoutsen. Emily Vukovic, she's talking about the cranberries up in Bala. An amazing sight to see, plus all the fall colors. We'll be checking in with her in just a minute. But first up, the weekend storm recap. Let's get to that right now. Look at this video here. You sent in amazing videos from over the weekend as that cold front came crashing through. We take you and show you raining sideways. This is what it was looking like within southern Ontario. We'll pull up this video and show you this one from Janet, not being able to handle some of that wind. When we say strong wind, 102 kilometers an hour in Toronto, 104 in London. As we look at today, we're on the other side of that front. The front is what brought in those extremely strong winds and brought our temperatures down. That northwesterly flow, only 8 in Barrie and 11 in Toronto. We'll talk about where temperatures are going this week and if we expect any systems to come our way. That's just ahead. But right now, Emily Vukovic, I like your attire this morning. Very, very fashionable. Oh, no, looks like we may not have her mic out there this morning. We're going to try to get back to Emily in a second, but we do have the Cranberry Festival behind Emily there, Johnson's Cranberry Farm. What a sight to see. We'll get that back to you in a second, but let's talk about this right now. The northwesterly flow, cooling down conditions today, bringing in the potential for frost through the overnight tonight in through Tuesday morning, and then the southwesterly flow. That comes back into the picture, and that does warm our temperatures back up as we look ahead at Tuesday. Tuesday morning, it's still a cold start to the day. I'm sure today you sent the kids to school with perhaps a hat on, maybe even some gloves on this morning. It's a cool day today. We're not warming up as we go into the afternoon. But tomorrow afternoon, a different story. We got 17 back on the board for Toronto. That's above seasonal. Remember, we are mid-October now. October the 16th today. We're still holding on to 17 degrees. It's pretty impressive. As we look at this week as a whole, we are not tracking any systems. It is a calm, quiet week for us. Ridge in the jet stream, that is building, protecting us from that active weather. Ontario as a whole on Wednesday looks stunning. 22 in Windsor, 19 in Toronto, even 18 up in Kapuskasing. What a temperature for the mid of October. On Thursday here, we're 20 in Toronto, and we have a great forecast as we go into the weekend. Just want to show you this live look at the 403. A storm in time-lapse always looks so cool. You gotta wait for it, and then there it is, overtaking the camera. Michael tweeted this one to the Weather Network yesterday. This was taken in Toronto. The storms yesterday, they were interesting, weren't they? It was the type of day where you were inside and all of a sudden it hit. You just had to look out the window and think, oh my goodness. Some of the hardest hit areas were places like Peterborough and Newmarket. This morning, people still being put back on the grid. And of course, now we're dealing with that northwesterly flow in behind the front. We're stuck with that. And what we've been seeing this morning is a little bit of lake effect rain here on the south tip of Georgian Bay, essentially Collingwood down to Vaughan. We've been looking at some of these showers. There were even a couple radar returns just north of Vaughan that were showing a little bit of snow. This is a loft, not falling at the surface, not accumulating by any means. We're a bit too warm for that. But it just goes to show how cool we are this morning and how that cooler air is moving in. And you know, lake effect snow may not be such a distant story for us. Your long ranger is coming up throughout the hour, and we're going to chat about the potential for that. This afternoon, 11 degrees in Toronto. Want to turn things over to Emily this morning, having a great time up in Muskoka. The hip waders are on, and you're chatting about the cranberry harvest.
We're hanging out. Woo! having a good time and some cranberries.
Your morning show team bringing you so much energy in the early morning hours, right, Emily? Looks awesome out there. Tuesday afternoon, we will be feeling warmer, up to 17, and we're going to chat about the long-term story as we go throughout this week. That's all coming up. It was a stormy Sunday yesterday, wasn't it? The winds, they really picked up. We'll show you some of the numbers in a second. And now we're on the other side of that cold front. So today we are going to be seeing a windy day, a cool day today as well. Some cloud cover moving in, but we're seeing more peaks of sunshine as we get closer to lunchtime, that's for sure. Ridge returns over Ontario. When we say ridge, we're talking about the jet stream here. And we need that ridge to allow some warmth to come back into the picture for us. So we'll explain that forecast in a second. This was the winds from yesterday, significant to say the least, 102 kilometers an hour. Many down trees, down power lines as well. And as that cold front came in, it brought in some of the storms. A very cool time lapse here. Have a look at this from Prince Edward County. That is just east of the GTA around Kingston. We'll show you this video here before we get out to Emily. 6 degrees within an hour. The power of a cold front there. Pretty impressive stuff. This morning we've been looking at a touch of lake effect rain just off the south tip of Georgian Bay. That is all going to fizzle out as we go into the afternoon. All right, Emily, time now to turn things over to you. At the Cranberry Marsh this morning, the temperatures are cool, but hey, this is feels like a Canadian thing to do, is it? Emily, we could be trading places today. That sounds awesome, and we're going to take a look at force of nature weather around the world when we come back. A very good morning to you. It is Monday, October the 16th, and as we take a look at the radar this morning, I want to zoom in a little bit closer just on the south end of Georgian Bay because we are seeing here just a little bit of lake effect rain, essentially anywhere from about Collingwood down to Vaughan. But into the afternoon, that is out of the picture, but we're still cool. 8 degrees in Barrie, 11 in Toronto. I wish we could say we're warming up this afternoon. Not the case today, but we will be doing a lot of that, a lot of warming up as we go throughout this week. And we're going to get to that forecast in your Long Ranger. But right now I want to show you this. We're coming into peak with those beautiful fall colors. Now it looks like those winds may have knocked a decent amount of those off. This here is a closer look at that radar this morning, and you can see some of those showers just trickling in closer to the GTA. This lake effect rain will be shutting down though as we go into the afternoon. All right, Emily, looks like you have been having an incredible morning out there this morning. You've been doing that cranberry harvest. We've been getting that behind the scenes look. Now, is this something that anyone in Southern Ontario can do? Let's say this upcoming weekend where the conditions are looking really nice to be outdoors. You guys are having too much fun out there this morning, but of course that's how you're keeping warm up in Bala. Now I want to take you to an international story, a very interesting story. This is one-time Hurricane Ophelia, the 6th major hurricane of this Atlantic season. The record to beat is 7. That happened back in 2005. We are coming very close. But this, of course, is such an interesting track. It is no longer a hurricane. Now it's a post-tropical cyclone. But this is the most easterly track we have ever seen a hurricane take, set to hit Ireland this morning. Red warning across the entire island. And you know, we've been joking behind the scenes at the Weather Network because we're actually going to Ireland this month. And to see now a hurricane heading towards this place, of course, we're feeling like a bit of a jinx, but no joke here. This is going to be a very serious scene, extremely strong winds. And when we come back, we're going to talk about flying in extreme winds in Science Behind the Weather. Happy Monday, October the 16th today. I hope your day is off to a good start. Of course, thank you so much for being here with me and watching the Weather Network, making us a part of your morning. We're going to be checking in with Emily in a second. She is up at the Cranberry Festival. We're taking you up to Bala. But first, I want to get to this, the weekend storm recap. Look at some of the scenes from across Southern Ontario. The winds are very, very strong, and then we see scenes like that toppled over. Heart goes out to those homeowners. That's going to be a big delay. 102 kilometers an hour. That was the peak wind gust in Toronto yesterday at Pearson. Today, we're on the other side of that front, and that means conditions are a lot cooler. 11 degrees in Toronto today, only 8 in Barrie and Peterborough. We'll chat about where temperatures are going this week and what we expect in terms of any systems. That's coming up. But right now, we take you up to Bala, the Cranberry Festival with Emily. And I say, Emily, your fashion is on point this morning. Emily taking one for the team. I know it is a cool start to the morning out there this morning, but a very neat sort of behind the scenes feel on how the cranberries are harvested. This is the time of year to do so. Now, when we talk frost, of course, That is something that cranberry farmers really take seriously this time of year. You don't want to ruin your crop. And into tomorrow morning, we will have some frosty conditions across Ontario, but into the afternoon, that southwesterly wind already wants to come back into action. So that means tomorrow morning, it's a cool, fresh start to the morning. 3 in Burlington, 4 in Mississauga, 4 in Markham, 6 in Toronto. That's cool. But into the afternoon, we're up to 17. Now, we've been talking quite a bit about wind this morning. When we come back, the top 5 windiest places on Earth.